They said I left, but I never opened the door. If you think this is just another missing person case, you're wrong. There's a man upstairs, living his best life. There's a daughter who calls herself a victim, and there's a woman in the basement who remembers everything. So before you scroll, ask yourself, what if the scariest prison doesn't have bars? This is my story, and it's not what you think. Thank you for being here. Have you ever been forgotten in a room full of people? Have you ever disappeared while standing right in front of them? Before we continue, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more quiet, powerful stories like this one, hit follow. Say something under this video, even just one word. Where are you watching from? What time is it? You're not coming upstairs anymore, Helen. Just like that. Like a weather update. Like he was informing the thermostat. I looked up the stairs, soup tray in my hands. The spoon was still wobbling. I had cut the toast into 4 neat triangles, orange jelly on the side, the kind he liked. I remember because I made it, every Thursday, for years. He didn't take it. He didn't even look at it. Instead, he reached for the door, the one at the top of the basement stairs, and he closed it. Soft, final, click. That was it. That was the moment my world hiccuped. You'd think I screamed. I didn't. You'd think I ran to the door. I didn't. Instead, I just stood there like a hotel lamp no one wanted to turn off. It took my legs a full minute to remember they were mine, and my throat. That took longer. He didn't lock me in a dungeon. He didn't chain me to a pipe. He just stopped letting me leave. No bars, just a door, just a key, and no one else asking questions, because he told them I was gone. Down in Florida, he'd said, getting rest. I placed the tray down on the step. The toast had gone cold. So had my breath. I sat. Let the silence crawl over me like a damp sheet. And I thought, maybe he's testing me. Maybe he wants me to beg. Maybe this is still a marriage. But then I did it. Something old. Almost muscle memory. I reached for the pipe above my head and knocked. 3 times. Slow. Like we used to. Back in 2009, we had this code. 3 knocks meant, come downstairs. I need you. He used to answer every time, even when he was mad. Not this time. This time, he turned on the TV. Football. Loud. Then I heard him whistle. Bright. Casual. Carefree. Like nothing beneath him was breathing. That was when I knew. Knew he wasn't angry. Knew he wasn't bluffing. Knew I wasn't part of his life anymore. Not wife. Not woman, not even problem, just silence beneath the floorboards. And when I finally did speak, my voice sounded like someone else's. You'll regret this, Richard. But only the soup tray heard me. At first, I waited for the sound of his footsteps. I waited for guilt, for hesitation, for anything. But all I got was the commercial break. There's a kind of quiet in a basement you can't describe. It's not just silence. It's something thick. It presses against your ribs. It whispers things like, maybe this is your fault. I lay down on the floor. The concrete was cool. Above me, the pipe ran like a crooked vein through the ceiling. My old lifeline. 3 knocks, and he'd come. So I tried again. Tap, tap, tap. And I waited. But he didn't come. She did. A voice, light, tired, familiar. It floated down through the vents like perfume from a stranger. How long are you going to keep this up, Dad? My heart stopped. It was my daughter, Emily. She was upstairs, in my house, sitting on my furniture, drinking my coffee. The hazelnut one I kept hidden from Richard. I tried to scream, but my voice cracked in half. Nothing came out but dust. If anyone asks, she's in Florida. That's the story, Emily said. You told the neighbors already. Just stick to it. A pause. A sigh. Then, we just need a little more time. Once the paperwork's done. The rest blurred into static. My blood was pounding too loud. She knew. My daughter knew. And not only did she believe I was gone, She wanted it that way. I crawled to the stairs. My knees burned against the concrete. I called her name. Not loud. I didn't have loud anymore. Emily. Nothing. Just the sound of her heels clicking across my silence. In that moment, something broke. Not a scream, not a sob, just the rope inside me, the one I'd been hanging on to, and still, somewhere deeper than pain, a new voice whispered back, "Write it down." So I did. I picked up a broken pencil from the laundry shelf, and on the back of a shopping receipt, I wrote, "My name is Helen Gray. I am not in Florida. I am here." I used to love Thursdays. They had rhythm, morning laundry, soup prep, Jeopardy rerun at 7. Now I measure them by the mold lines creeping up the wall. Today, the line looked like a question mark, and I finally asked one. What if they've already replaced me? I hadn't looked through the basement boxes in years. Some were mine, labeled in my handwriting, back when I still had space for pens. Some weren't. One of them had duct tape across the top, scrawled in Sharpie, "Junk, do not touch." Naturally, I touched it. Inside, an old winter jacket, a cracked photo frame, and something heavy, a tablet. My tablet, dead, dusty, and older than my knees. I plugged it into a socket behind the dryer. It hummed, blinked once, and came alive like it missed me. The background was still a photo of my garden, tomatoes, late summer. I almost cried just seeing green. I opened the file marked bank. Last transaction, 2 days ago, a direct deposit, my Social Security, still active, still going, to someone. And every month, 1/8 dealers withdrawn like clockwork, a signature on each form, mine, only. I hadn't signed anything since 2018, and I don't curl my G like that. Another folder, labeled medical. The PDF opened slowly, like it was ashamed. Cognitive decline, patient, Helen Gray. Diagnosis, severe, irreversible, unable to consent. Signed by Dr. J. Elkins with daughter Emily present. I blinked. Then again, my daughter had sat in a room and declared me gone. My body warm, my mind erased by ink. My hand shook. The moldy air closed in. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. The screen dimmed. Low battery. I stared at my own name in Times New Roman, still breathing, still legally expired. And I knew something finally. This wasn't just cruelty. It was a business. They said I was declining. That's the word in the file. So polite. So beige. Not trapped. Not coherent. Not even missing. Just declining. Like a staircase. Or daylight. I spent that night staring at the ceiling pipe. There were sounds above, faint, muffled, and one I hadn't heard in months. Laughter. A woman's. Young. Not Emily. She said, "You said she wasn't lucid." A voice like a dental receptionist, warm but empty, and then Richard, my husband, my jailer, my caretaker, replied, "She's not. She hasn't been for years." Talks to walls. Makes up things. We're just waiting on the placement. Placement. Like furniture. Like garbage. I pressed my ear against the ceiling. The vent was warm. Their voices slipped through like steam. The agency needs one more signature, from her doctor or from you. Doesn't matter who, really. Then came the clink of glasses. Laughter again. Another voice. A man's this time. What happens if she snaps out of it? Silence. Then Richard, calm as always. She won't, and even if she did, no one would believe her. I backed away from the vent like it was burning me. My legs gave out. I slid down the dryer to the floor. Let me tell you something. Pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just quiets you, so much that your breath starts apologizing for taking space. That night, I slept curled up with the tablet like a child with a nightlight. Battery, 11%, same as my hope. In the morning, a new tray appeared at the top of the stairs. Toast again, but soggy this time. watered-down oatmeal, and a small orange pill beside it. No label, no note, no explanation. He thinks I'll swallow whatever he gives me, and he's not wrong. I used to. For 37 years, I swallowed. His moods, his rules, his silence. Not anymore. I didn't touch the tray. Instead, I used the spoon, bent and dull, to wedge open a small panel behind the utility shelf. Inside, dust, a dead wasp, and wires. Wires. Still running. Still connected to something above. The house still breathes me. It still remembers I'm here. And if the house remembers, maybe someone else will. But not Emily. Not anymore. She looked him in the eye and said I was ready for long-term care. She never looked for me. Never knocked. Never doubted the silence. You know what hurts more than a lie? When someone you raised helps build it. That afternoon, I started writing again, not just receipts this time. I opened the voice recorder on the tablet, and for the first time in years, I spoke out loud. My name is Helen Gray. I am not confused. I am not lost. I am not gone. I am locked in my own home, and my husband has convinced the world I disappeared. If you're hearing this, believe me. I hit save. Name the file. Florida is a lie. I used to believe in small things. That soup could heal. That warm bread meant you were safe. That when someone said, "Thank you," they meant it. I used to cut toast diagonally because Emily liked triangles, because Richard liked routine, because I liked being needed. I made soup every Thursday, even when I was sick, even when no one asked, even after he stopped coming down for it. Now it just sits there. He still slides the tray down. I still lift the lid. Steam hasn't visited in months. The toast is soggy now. The soup is watery. The spoon is plastic, like I'm being fed in prison, which, to be fair, I am. Today I let the soup sit, let the toast sweat in its own misery, let the spoon warp near the heater. I stared at it the way I used to stare at old love letters, with more pity than longing. Flashback. 2 years ago. Same Thursday, same soup. I was upstairs, standing at the kitchen window. Richard was in the yard trimming nothing, and Emily was at the table, phone in hand. She whispered, "She's slipping. I know it. Just give it time." Then louder, "I said more carrots, Mom." She said it like I was deaf, like I was slow, like I was already halfway gone. I remember the spoon in my hand shaking. I remember laughing, just once, at how fast love can feel like humiliation. That was the last time she stayed over. I came back to the present. Same soup, different silence. I took the spoon and wrapped it in paper towel, hid it behind the insulation panel, started a pile, bent spoon, scratched wire, old sock with coins inside, half a notebook page with names I still remember. They think I'm declining. No, I'm collecting. My wrists ache now, not from age, but from planning. Funny how strategy makes you feel younger. There's a scratch behind the dryer where I've marked each Thursday. Today I drew a star instead, because I didn't eat, because I didn't cry, because I remembered who I am. Next week, I'll use the spoon, not for soup. Before Richard, before the triangle toast, before the polite hell I called marriage. There was Margaret. She had auburn hair, a cat named Carl, and a laugh that snorted on every third inhale. We met at a PTA meeting when our girls were in 2nd grade. We stayed up nights talking about husbands, hope, and hypothetical divorces. She once told me, "If I ever go missing, check under my husband's ego." I laughed then. Now I think it was a warning. I wrote her a letter, weeks ago, or months. Time here folds in on itself like wet laundry. I scribbled it on the back of an electric bill, addressed it from memory, slipped it into Richard's outgoing mail stack one morning, before he changed the routine. She never wrote back. No call, no knock, no smoke signal. I'd convinced myself maybe she moved, maybe she forgot, maybe she believed the Florida story like everyone else, or maybe she got my letter and didn't want to believe it. That thought hurt worse than the lock. I sat beside the old water heater today. Dry pipe. Cold concrete. I traced her name on the dust. Margaret. Then I crossed it out. Slowly. Like grief. That's when I heard it. A new voice. Male. Young. It's the wrong model. You can't install that panel without rerouting. A pause. More tools clinking. Then Richard, low and annoyed. Just get it done. Basement sealed off anyway. I froze. Someone was in the house. Someone real. And if there was one, there might be more. I pressed my ear to the floor vent again. The young man was muttering something. Then I heard a knock. Not mine. His. Accidental. On the wall just behind the dryer. It rattled the wires in my little hiding panel. And my heart. That wall was close. If he leaned just 2 inches left, he'd hear me breathe. I opened the voice recorder, found my saved message. Florida is a lie. And I added more. There's a man here. If you find this, please. I'm real. I'm not gone. Check the basement, the door, the lock. My name is Helen, please. I saved the file. Then I waited. Not for Margaret, for a stranger. Because hope doesn't always wear the face you expect. Sometimes it comes with a name tag and tool belt. I left the tablet on the shelf by the breaker box, right at the edge, where the dust looked undisturbed enough to seem forgotten, but close enough that a curious hand might reach. It was a gamble, but everything is now, even breathing. Richard had told the technician not to bother with the basement, but he never liked being told no, especially by men younger than him. So when I heard footsteps creak on the top stair, then the metallic drag of a toolbox, I knew someone was coming closer. I pressed against the wall, not to hide, to listen. His voice was clearer now. Just need to check the wiring loop, not trying to move in, relax. No answer from Richard. Then, a small knock, a clatter, silence, and a whisper. What the hell? The tablet had a cracked screen. Its battery light blinked like a warning, but it still turned on. And the first thing visible, bold and plain, a folder named Do Not Open. I imagined his thumb hesitating, imagined him glancing around, then tapping it anyway. Inside, the recording, my voice. I don't know how it sounded. Maybe frightened, maybe too calm, maybe too real. But he didn't delete it. He uploaded it. Somewhere. Because an hour later, I heard Richard yelling upstairs. You think this is funny? Where the hell did this come from? Someone else, a younger voice. Dude, it's on Reddit already. That's not funny. It's insane. She's talking. That woman is real. My heart slammed into my chest like it wanted out. They heard me. They heard me. But would they believe me? The rest of the day passed in noise. Calls, shouting, doors. I curled under the stairs. The cold pressed into my spine, but I didn't care. For the first time in, I don't know how long, I wasn't just a whisper in a pipe. I was a voice in the world. The next morning, I woke up to laughter. Sharp, clear, unbothered. It rose from the vents like perfume, sickly sweet. There were voices I hadn't heard in years. Uncles, aunts, someone playing the piano badly, and a child shrieking joyfully over plastic wrapping paper. A party. They were having a party. I sat under the stairs, barefoot on concrete, and listened to them celebrate. Someone toasted. I heard clinking glasses. Then Emily, my daughter, lifted her voice like a ribbon in the air. To Dad, for holding everything together these last few years. Laughter, applause. Everyone clapped. For a second, just one, I thought, maybe if I yelled loud enough. But then I saw the truth again. They didn't forget me. They erased me. And now they were celebrating the funeral they never had to plan. I stood. My knees cracked like dry leaves. I walked to the shelf by the old laundry chute. That's where I kept it. A photo. Framed. The three of us. Smiling. 4th of July, 2003. red, white, and blue cupcakes in our hands, matching t-shirts. Emily had drawn a heart on mine with Sharpie that day, said I was her forever hero. I looked at it, held it, and then, without ceremony, I cracked the frame against the cement edge of the dryer once, twice. The glass screamed, then silence. I peeled the photo from the shards, folded it in half, then in quarters, then again, until only my face was visible. I burned it with the coil from the broken iron, let the smoke curl up toward the vent. Maybe they'd smell it, maybe not. Either way, I'd started erasing them back. Upstairs, they sang Happy Birthday, off-key, too loud, too happy. And me? I sat in the smoke and smiled because ghosts don't throw parties, and I wasn't a ghost, not anymore. The technician's name was Nate, I found out later. Back then, he was just a stranger who didn't follow instructions, and thank God for that. After he left the house, he sat in his van, waiting on some download to finish. He tapped through the tablet out of boredom, looking for the model number. Instead, he found a folder called Do Not Open, which naturally he opened. The video played. My face, grainy, lit by drier light. My voice, raw, cracked, unblinking. My name is Helen Gray. I am not confused. I am not gone. He watched it twice, then a third time. Then, with trembling fingers, he uploaded it. Not to YouTube, not to Facebook, to Reddit, to a subreddit called RR True Crime Leaks. He didn't think it was real, at first, until the comments came. This is either Oscar-level acting or someone just confessed to being imprisoned. Guys, Google Helen Gray and Florida. There's nothing. No retirement records. No obituaries. That room behind her, industrial pipes, exposed wiring, water heater, looks like a basement in the Midwest. Within 2 hours, the post had 22,000 upvotes. Police subreddits picked it up. A local podcast messaged the uploader, and someone, a woman with a badge, recognized the address. But down in the basement, I knew none of this. That night, Richard came down. Not all the way, just to the top step. I didn't look up. He said nothing. No insult, no speech. Just one sharp sentence. What did you do? Then he slammed the door. Harder than usual. I stared into the dark. He knew. But I didn't know what he knew. I didn't know where the video went. I didn't know if anyone watched. I didn't know if they'd come. And that's what made the night longer than most. Not fear, not hunger, but hope. They came in the afternoon, not with sirens, not with urgency, just 2 patrol cars, quiet as clouds. I heard the gravel crunch outside, doors open, footsteps, then Richard's voice, calm, smooth, buttery. He was always good with strangers, always had a suit smile ready to go. Yes, officers, come in, please. You got a report about, what, a video? Yeah, that's been going around. Total misunderstanding. My wife, Helen, she had early dementia, terrible case. She moved to a memory care facility last fall, Florida, near her sister. Lies. So clean you'd want to frame them. One of the officers, male, asked questions like someone checking a parking ticket, but the other, she didn't laugh. Detective Harper. Her boots made a different sound on the floor. Heavy. Purposeful. Do you have her contact info? Well, no. The facility prefers minimal outside contact, keeps patients calm. Can you provide proof of transfer? Paperwork? Billing? A pause, then shuffling. A printer whirring to life upstairs. I imagined him scrambling, forging something, or pulling out the fakes he'd prepared months ago. Meanwhile, I sat in the dark, listening, counting the footsteps, mapping the house by sound. They were in the hallway, in the living room, but never near the basement, never near me. Has your wife ever mentioned abuse or tried to contact friends recently? She's not capable of that anymore, ma'am. You're sure? Positive. God, I wish it weren't true. He said it like a prayer, and I swear he choked up for effect. Then came the sentence that made my whole body go still. Would you like to come down and check the basement? A beat. 2. Then, it's sealed up. Renovations. Mold issues. Honestly, not safe down there right now. I heard boots pause, rubber against hardwood. Detective Harper said nothing, but the silence felt like an exhale that didn't trust itself. They left an hour later. No cuffs, no questions for me, no light under the door. But I know this. She didn't believe him. Not fully. There was something in her pause, in the way she didn't say goodbye, in the way her car stayed running for a while before pulling away. She'll be back. She has to be. Somewhere in Ohio, a woman named April sat scrolling Reddit in her kitchen. She worked the night shift. She didn't follow true crime. She didn't even know why she clicked. But the video played, and something in her froze. The voice. Low. Careful. Not scared, but trying not to shake. She played it again, then again. By the third time, she wasn't listening. She was remembering. The woman in the video said, "My name is Helen Gray. If you're hearing this, believe me." And April whispered to herself, Helen, Helen. That was her name. She didn't talk about it much. Her birth mother. She'd grown up in foster care, a decent home, nice people. But one question never stopped living in her throat. Why didn't she keep me? Now the voice came back, not through a letter, not through a lawyer, but through a basement. She clicked on the video description, saw the county name, the rough timestamp, and the username of the technician who uploaded it. She messaged him, then the subreddit mods, then local authorities. I know this sounds crazy, but I think that woman, I think she's my mother. Meanwhile, I was underground, trying to remember how many tiles were missing on the water heater, trying to guess how much longer the soup would come, trying to breathe like someone who hadn't given up yet. The last time I saw April, she was wrapped in a yellow blanket being carried out by strangers in hospital scrubs. I was 17. The blanket had ducks on it. They told me not to name her. I did anyway. I called her April because she came in rain and left in silence. I never told Richard. I never told Emily. It was mine. The one thing that was only mine. And now she was out there. And she'd heard me. They never thought I'd keep anything. They assumed I'd forget, that my brain would fold in like damp paper and I'd dissolve into a soft blur. But I kept everything. I had a drawer behind the old heater. It started as a joke, a place to hide the plastic spoons. Then it became a vault. Inside, the forged medical report, a copy of the memory care invoice, never paid. 3 receipts in Richard's handwriting, signed with mine. My Social Security deposit alerts, screen captured from the tablet. A napkin where I wrote, "She's in Florida," he says. I'm under the stairs. 14 days now. I didn't know what would matter most. So I kept it all, even the soup lids. Every Thursday, I scratched a mark into the concrete behind the shelf. 63 of them. I wasn't counting days anymore. I was counting evidence. That morning, I heard something outside the basement window. Not the usual leaf rustle, not a squirrel. Shoes, 2 voices, a woman, firm, low. "We just want to take a second look at the wiring, Mr. Gray." Detective Harper. She was back. I ran, faster than I thought I could, across the floor, around the heater, to the vent slot near the breaker wall. There was a crack, small, 2 fingers wide, enough for something to pass through. I slid the envelope into the light. Above me, silence. Then, a pause. Boots scuffed. Metal moved. Then I heard her. "What's this?" A beat. Then her voice again, softer, sharper. "Helen Gray's medical records. Why is this hidden in the basement?" And then, for the first time, Richard stammered. He said things like, "Old files." Out of context. She wrote those during an episode. But Detective Harper wasn't blinking anymore. She called someone, spoke in short phrases, and just like that, the basement became a crime scene. I didn't know it then. But hours later, in a dark station 3 towns over, a federal agent said, "These signatures don't match." And another one added, "He's been cashing checks in her name for over 3 years." Everything they touched, every lie, every paper trail, now had fingerprints, and none of them were mine. The door didn't creak this time. It shook. Once, twice. Then a crack. Loud, deep, final. I didn't move. Not from fear, from disbelief. For so long, the silence had been my ceiling. Now it was crumbling. Wood splintered, boots thundered, voices, commands sharp and clipped. "Police, step back! Hands where I can see them. Search the lower level. I stood, slowly. My legs were stiff. My back screamed. My body forgot what upright meant. But I stood, because I knew what was coming through that door was no longer a threat. It was sunlight. The lock popped like a gunshot. The door swung open, and for a second, just one, I had to cover my eyes. A woman stood at the top of the stairs. Detective Harper. No sunglasses, no clipboard, no pity, just eyes, sharp and steady. She didn't say, "Oh my God." She didn't say, "Are you okay?" She said, "Mrs. Gray?" And I, for the first time in years, answered out loud, "Yes." Behind her, 2 officers shoved Richard to the ground. He shouted something, called me delusional, said I was unstable, said I'd forged the evidence. Classic. No one listened. Not this time. Emily was there too. She stood in the hallway, arms limp at her sides, eyes fixed on the stairs. She didn't cry, didn't scream, just whispered, "You weren't supposed to come back." I passed her like fog. No words, nothing left to say. They put a blanket around my shoulders, offered water, asked 100 questions. But I couldn't hear them, because all I could hear was the sound of open air and my name, spoken, believed, alive. They asked me if I wanted makeup. I said no. Let them see the lines. Let them see the weeks of dust in my hair. Let them see what survival actually looks like. The news anchor smiled too much, too white, too smooth. Helen Gray joins us today, the woman whose story stunned the nation. She said it like I'd won a prize, like I'd been discovered instead of rescued. I sat in the studio chair, stiff and wrong. The lights buzzed, the mic was cold, the camera red dot blinked like a heart. "Tell us, Helen, what does freedom feel like?" I looked into the lens, and for a second, saw myself. Not on the screen, in the reflection, older, quieter, but not gone. "Like breathing in a room without a lie in it," I said. They asked about Richard, about Emily, about the basement. They wanted outrage, tears, closure. I gave them facts, because truth doesn't cry on cue. Then someone stood up in the audience, a woman, early 40s, brown hair, wide eyes, hands shaking. "Helen?" she said, soft, broken. I turned, felt the floor tilt. She didn't look like a child anymore, but something in the eyes, the left one slightly lower than the right. I knew it. April. Security moved toward her. I raised my hand. "It's okay," I said. She stepped forward. The crowd hushed. The anchor froze. "I think I'm your daughter," she whispered. I nodded once, then twice, because words didn't work right then. And she cried like I had never been erased. Later, off camera, she gave me a necklace, simple chain, no charm. "We can add something to it," she said. I told her we already had. The shelter isn't fancy, peeling paint, thin walls. But the window's open, and the door has no lock on my side. That's enough. They gave me a room with a desk. I started writing letters. To women I read about in the paper, to women who never got airtime, to one woman in particular, still somewhere behind a basement door. I write, "You're not confused, you're not crazy, you're not alone." Then I sign my name, Helen Gray. Big, clear, undeniable. Every Tuesday I take a walk past the courthouse. Sometimes I see reporters, sometimes protesters. No one recognizes me, except one intern, last week, who whispered, "You're the one from the video, right?" I smiled, not proud, just alive. Richard's trial starts in a month. Emily won't testify. She says she wasn't part of it, that she believed what she was told. Maybe she did, but belief isn't always innocent. April visits on Sundays. She brings lemon cookies, too sweet, too soft, but I eat them anyway. We sit. We don't push. We don't pretend we're caught up. We just begin. One day she left a note on my pillow. "You were never missing to me." That night I opened my old notebook, the same one I'd used behind the water heater, and I wrote, "I wasn't missing. I was hidden. And now I'm done whispering." If you're still here and this story spoke to you, consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss the next one.